everyone, welcome to Club 2, Episode 5 of Relegation Rescue at Sparta Rotterdam with me, the United City FM. Welcome along. Just a couple of things before we get into the games for today, and I did say games. There are two of them in this particular episode. If you can hear any slight banging in the background, one of my neighbours is taking the self-isolation opportunity to do some DIY, it seems like, but hope that won't disrupt the recording too much. And the other thing to tell you about is just where we've been recently since you and I were last together for the most recent episode. And you can see we got a loss, unfortunately. So the February schedule was pretty decent. Couple of wins in there, draw, loss. So form is definitely better than it has been, but a little bit inconsistent still, which you would expect for a side at the bottom of the table. And then today we come up against the double header of second and then first in the Eredivisie. PSV Eindhoven followed by Ajax are the opposition for today. I thought a good opportunity for us in this very short-term save with Sparta Rotterdam, just half a season, to play these big guys if we can. I'm fully aware that it probably means that we're going to get beaten quite severely, but, you know, hey-ho, that's just part of the gig. And the other thing to tell you about is if we look at the league table, you can see that currently, with a game in hand, we are no longer bottom of the Eredivisie. Den Haag have taken over that role, and they've played a game extra than us as well. So if we could just grab a point or more possibly from one of these two games today, that would really help. But I don't really see it happening. I think we're going to have to rely on the other games coming up for that. But you can see the other problem, though, is if we don't pick up a win soon, and as I say, it's going to be unlikely today, there is still quite a big gap between us and safety, or even us in that 16th position, which puts us into a playoff with one of the potential promotion candidates from the division below us. So there's still options there, but it is it's still going to be quite hard to get out of this situation, I think. In terms of the games today, though, we've got a few issues with injury and suspension as we currently speak. If we come down the squad list a little bit, you can see that Bruns got himself sent off in the last game, 2 yellow cards, so he misses today's game. And we got a couple of injuries there as well. We can still put out a full bench, though, of 12 players plus our first team 11. So it's not too bad, but it's a little bit imbalanced here and there just because a couple of key people are still coming back from injury issues. But anyway, you know, these are the hand that we've been dealt, so we just got to get on with it. So for this particular match against PSV Eindhoven, we've got Fabry in goal, Matthew, Benamar and De Braal in central defence, with Sanchez, Brute and Lukili in central midfield, and Abels on the right, Reichel on the left, with Veldvik and Thor up front, with everybody else that's fit or available on the bench. So let's get into the first of these double header. Please don't let us get trounced. Let's see what happens. So I've just allowed the assistant manager really to say there's no real pressure on the players today. Go out there and give it a good go. And we'll see whether that helps in terms of our team performance today. We're playing in our away strip for today because PSV Eindhoven play in the same sort of red and white stripes that we would. So you can see that we're in the darker top away from home, and immediately PSV Eindhoven hit the post, and the danger still isn't gone. We can push the ball out though for a throw-in, I think. But the new highlight is a free kick to PSV, and they are putting us under an awful lot of pressure very early on. I think we're going to just go slightly cautious for a little while and see if we can soak this up and sort of create a harder defensive shape for them to get through. But so far, they are finding the spaces and they're finding the shots. And that particular occasion went over the top of the bar. Whilst there's a break in play, can I say thanks for going and checking out the Ben Meets podcast that I was telling you about over the last couple of episodes. Really appreciate those who've gone and seen it on Ben DPB's channel. If you haven't already, go check it out. I was the guest on last weekend's version of it. So if you haven't seen that already, go check that out. Also, if you haven't noticed and haven't seen, go and check my new channel art. I've got a new logo, new banner up on my YouTube channel, and I really like it. So go check it out. Let me know what you think about that. But again, PSV come down that right-hand side, switch it over to the left, and there's a really good rocket of a shot, and it just wrong-footed the goalkeeper. He was slightly off balance, from a slight shift in his position, and the ball goes past him, and we go 1-0 down after 30 minutes. It's been coming a little bit. They've had all the pressure. You can see the goalkeeper was moving across his goal just as the slight restep of the striker putting it back against the other side of the goal, and he was just off balance, couldn't quite get to it. On that occasion, though, got down well for a free kick and parried it out for a corner kick. But again, it's PSV still with that huge amount of pressure coming our way. And we've got to find a way, not just to soak it up, but do something about it and take the pressure off by keeping the ball somehow. But we can't manage it. Again, they're coming back at us, and they keep the ball by going slightly deeper into their midfield and then bringing it forward again down the right-hand side. Good overlapping run. And then the highlight dies, so it didn't quite work out for them, but some good movement there. But you can see, look at these match statistics coming up to the end of the first half. We haven't had a shot, not one shot. We've had a small amount of possession, really, and they're doing what you would expect them to do, really, but we've got to find a way to try and change that. So we're going to have to be a little bit assertive and say, show me something else in the second half. We're not going to try and build them up too much. But then what we are going to do, once we've got out into the second half, we'll pause the game momentarily, and we are going to have to go to a positive outlook, and we're going to say get creative and just see whether that boosts the confidence of them a little bit from a team talk that they can get behind. But again, as the second half starts, a bit like the first half, there's a chance for PSV, and again it goes over the top of the bar, like a couple of their early opportunities in the first half. And still we may remain under the cosh a little bit. And there's no signs of it really changing. They're not totally dominant in the sense of, they're not 4-0 up or anything, but they are very dominant in terms of the way the match is playing out. We have had one attempt at goal now, but that didn't quite go so well. There's another attempt there for PSV. Can we hold on for this and find a way in the last 15 minutes of the game to change it and hopefully have at least a chance ourselves? But there's another really good effort for PSV, but the goalkeeper gets down really well from point blank range and does very well on that occasion. Let's stop the game here for a second and go into the substitution page and see what we can do personnel wise. There's a lot of poor performances going on, as you would expect, really, because of who we're playing and what the current scoreline is. So Bruns comes on for Abels down that right hand side. We're going to take Brute off, and we're going to put Reinders on in his place, and then one of these front two is going to have to go, and we'll take off Veldvik and put Mboyo on and just see whether that changes anything, and then we're going to have to go attacking. Why not? We've got 10 minutes left. We're already down against second place in the league, so we might as well give it a go just for the last few minutes. Maybe we can get one chance. Is there going to be one? 90 minutes comes and goes, and there's the full-time whistle, and we didn't quite manage it. It's not a terrible performance by any stretch. I mean, we were absolutely dominated. Look at these match stats. 71% possession, 28 shots at goal, 13 on target to our 5 and 1. They did absolutely dominate us, but we must have made it reasonably hard for them to break us down, because they only got the one goal in the end. The assistant manager's saying, tell the boys we did well, their efforts were excellent. I think I probably will do that on this occasion, just because of who we're playing and the fact we didn't get trounced. And we've got to maintain that confidence level as much as we can, because we've got an even harder potential game coming up next. And we've got some tricky sort of mid and lower teams to come in the remainder fixtures of the season. So we do have to maintain some form of confidence. But again, you can see that form is just beginning to dip. A couple of losses in a row, and now we get the mighty Ajax to go up against. So give me a second and I'll come back for that game. So welcome back. We haven't changed an awful lot in the last few days. Not a lot happened between the two games, to be honest. It was a week in the game, but yeah, it was nothing really happened at all. There was a couple of people that came back from their knocks, as you can see. So we've rejigged the sides slightly, but not totally. But the team for the second game against Ajax, let's go and just check in with the competition page, just so you can see that we are still sitting in that 17th position rather than the 18th that we started. And nobody around us has won, because none of the other teams have played. We played that extra game that we had. It was a chance to get some points on the teams above us, but we didn't manage it, did we, against Eindhoven? Although a really, really good performance in a roundabout kind of way against the second place side. But anyway, Ajax is the next game. You can see that they sit top of the tree. Going to be really hard. They're pretty much running away with the league this year. So the team for them is going to be Fabry in goal, Matthew, Benamar and De Bruyne in central defence, with Sanchez, Brute and Bruns in central midfield, with Abels on the right, Rochelle on the left, Velvik and Thor up top. Pretty much everybody else on the bench, as is usually the case in the Eredivisie. So let's get into this second game and see what happens. Slightly different tack, just to say we've got nothing to lose. Go and show them what we're capable of in this kind of match. So just hoping to boost their confidence a little bit leading into this particular match. Although, as we saw in the previous one, it's going to be very hard to get anything out of this sort of game when we come up against the real heavyweights of this particular division at the moment. But let's see how we cope. Again, we're at home, so we're back in our familiar red and white. So that's good, because otherwise it gets a bit confusing, doesn't it? Playing PSV, I thought that they were us half the time. But yeah, Ajax come down the left-hand side, switch it over to this right with a very wayward ball that they managed to make something out of. We weren't quite able to cut in there and nick it from them, but we probably should have somehow. It was such a weak pass, but the cross comes in eventually, and we only get it partially cleared, and they have a shot from the edge of the box, but it goes slightly narrowly wide, and the goalkeeper isn't really troubled by it. But there's a warning shot by Ajax early on. We go long from the goal kick. Velvik win the first header, but we lose out on that pass from that right-hand side. And again, Ajax settle down into their passing pattern, and they take their time and they build up from the back. And we've got to find a way to put a bit of pressure on them, I suspect, as the game goes on. But just at the moment, we'll sit and we'll hold our shape and wait for loose balls like that and try and mop up the loose balls and keep possession ourselves, which on this occasion, can we do? We don't. We pass it really poorly. The goalkeeper makes a real hash up of that, and they come back at us, and there's a header at the near post, and it came from our own error, our own mistake, and Ajax go one up. And that's what happens when you're in the relegation zone. It's player mistakes more than anything else is causing us problems, and the goalkeeper tries to pass it into his central defenders, but the striker intercepts it, thinks much quicker and moves much quicker than anybody else, brings it forward, crosses it in, near post header, 1-0 down after 15 minutes of the game. Really disappointing because it comes from our own errors. But a chance for us to get back in the game. Can we do so? A really poor throw-in, but we win that second ball. And Velvik, on the end of the shot, on the end of the pass through, gets a shot away, and it's blocked and cleared. But at least we had a sighter. At least we got through them to the goal area to see if we can actually have a few chances here and there. It's a bit more of an even game than it was against PSV Eindhoven. This is much better in terms of we are down, and obviously there's Ajax have always got the opportunity for more as their cross comes in from the free kick, and the shot goes wayward again. Another sighter from them though, showing that they're still pushing us, but we are doing all right. You can see that the possession stats are much more even, and the game stats in general are better in our favour, but we still go in at half-time 1-0 down. Just while I've got you here at half-time, just to tell you that there's a poll on my Twitter feed currently for the next few hours at least, as this video drops. It was through till 10 o'clock Thursday morning in English time. There's a poll though on my Twitter feed to determine the two teams that we're going to be using for the Deja Vu save that starts on Sunday. There's also another post on my Twitter feed that explains what the Deja Vu is. So if you haven't joined me over on Twitter, now's a good time to come over, go and vote on that poll, and then, give it a read and see what you think about what the Deja Vu will entail. So something to do there. But let's think about this halftime team talk. What can we do here? I mean, we are 1-0 down. We are losing out to the top team in the division, but we're doing okay. So let's go with this one in a calm way. It's time for everyone to dig in and give everything you've got. Just keep them pushing forward and believing that they can potentially do something. And whether it materialises or not, it hopefully maintains the confidence levels for the players moving forward. And you can see, just as it came to this highlight, that the Ajax players are beginning to get a little bit frustrated that their efforts are not being rewarded as readily as you might think. And now, for the second time in a row, we've got ourselves in trouble from Bruns, and he's picked up a second yellow card for the second game in a row. He didn't play last match because he was suspended for it. He's come back into the side, and again is going to cost our side. This happened in the last game that he played, that we were doing okay and then we lost a goal because he got sent off and we went down a man and we eventually lost the game. And it's going to be really hard to get anything from this one now, isn't it? So what we're going to do, we're going to take Velvik off and we're going to put Reinders on, and then we're going to move him back into his midfield position. If it will move for me, it will. And then just bring Thor slightly more centrally and play one up top. I think that's probably the best way to go just at the moment. But that's so disappointing that, again, the goal was cost because we made an error at the back. And now they had a strike on goal for a free kick. Good parry by the goalkeeper for a corner kick for Ajax. But yeah, it's our own doing, isn't it? Goalkeeper makes an error for the goal. Then we get a player sent off. And we're now under the cosh even more. And Ajax are going to be able to pile the pressure on even more. And a little bit of a loose pinball there for a while. But then eventually the highlight goes. And we are pushing our luck slightly here. We are causing all sorts of problems for ourselves. Pause the game there for a moment and we'll just go in and see what we can do in terms of substitutions just for the last sort of 25 minutes of the game. And you can see there's a couple of anxious, frustrated players there. So that's something to think about. We've got a few that are lacking conditioning a little bit and a few very low ratings. So what can we combine here? So Thor on a 6.6 and anxious is one that's going to come out, and we'll put Mboyo up top. He holds the ball up quite well, so hopefully he can do that. Brute is on a 6.4. Sanchez 6.5, but we've also got De Bruyne at the back. I can't afford to be making defensive substitutions, though, it feels like. So we're going to concentrate on that midfield and take Brute out. And we'll put Lucali in and just see if he can unlock the door for us in that central midfield area. But it's going to be so tricky now. Now that we're down to that 10-man versus 11-man situation, it's going to be hard. But 10 minutes to go. You can see that the stats of the game suggest that we're still in it, but we haven't really had too many highlights to really demonstrate what we can do. Go attacking for the last couple of minutes. I missed the button and the game ends before I could do it. And again, we lose 1-0 to the top two sides. And that's a little bit disappointing, only because it's so close to getting, a 0-0 or a 1-1 or something that would just get us a point or something. But we didn't quite manage it. We can't be too hard on them again. It was a difficult opposition. It's not going to help our league position any, but in a roundabout kind of way, there's not much more that we could have expected, really. And it does leave us, again, a little bit vulnerable, having played that extra game now, because we played first in the weekend. It means that the likes of Den Haag could leapfrog us again if they get some form of positive result. So we'll just go and check that out in a second before we leave this particular episode and just see what that means for us moving forward before we check out what we're going to be doing in the next episode ourselves. Bruns getting sent off was such a problem, wasn't it? After that goalkeeping error for the first goal in the game as well. It was just so hard. Anyway, we'll let this process and check in with the league just to see where that puts us. So as most of the teams around us have now played, you can see that we've been dropped down again into that bottom position. Den Haag has jumped ahead of us, and we really do need to start picking up wins if we're going to have any chance whatsoever. But look at that, 9 points we are behind to getting to any form of safety. And let's go and check out what the remaining games have in store for us to show whether that's possible or not. We've still got 6 games left. So, of course, it's mathematically doable, but they've got to drop a load of points and we've got to pick up the points. And it's the picking up of the points that's going to be the real problem. We're going to be coming back against Heerenveen next time. No, that's not true. What am I looking at? I'm looking at AZ. That's who we're coming back for next time. So I'll play Willem, and then we'll come back for AZ, and then we've got Utrecht, and then the final game of the season there for the next couple of episodes, you can see. But we've got to start picking up some points, and it's proving incredibly difficult. And it doesn't get much easier when you look at AZ being 5th place, does it? Willem 2, 11th place is a good opportunity for us to get some points, hopefully, between the 2 episodes. So I'll see what I can do. Join me next time to find out. Thanks for joining me for today's, though. Double header that was hard to take a little bit. I thought we did pretty well in bits, but just didn't find those points, and that's the disappointing thing. Anyway, Thanks for joining me. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Click that like button if you haven't. Keep coming back to these episodes and joining me right the way to the end of this particular series. We'll fight as long as we can. But anyway, until next time, take care of yourselves. I'll see you very soon. Bye for now.